Hi, class. My name is Jacqueline Herrera. I will be talking about the language of cinema. So, as we have been kind of following along, we've been reading the language of cinema. What I want to talk about is how, like, the realism from back then is very different from how it is now. One, I think that what makes them both different is one that what back then there wasn't really a lot of like professional actors, so everything was really like raw, everything was really real. As to now, we obviously have more professional actors that they know what they're doing. It's more scripted, it's more, you know, more planned out. And that's where I want to bring in the bicycle thieves. I think that that was very like the characters they were not professional, they were not that professional. And even though there was some parts that, like, they obviously seemed very professional, they weren't really professional back then. um well, I was always gonna say is the location from back then till now. I feel like the location that the bicycle thieves was taken in, it was very like something that you would see back then versus now. Obviously, you wouldn't see like a bunch of people working in one certain place or a bunch of people riding bikes. Obviously now we have cars, and I think that's like it shows the difference, and it shows the like how film has changed throughout the years. It shows us that like, over time more and more and more things have been created, and that's why I want to bring in the technology. I want to bring in the technology because in back then we used to not have a lot of technology to work with, so we would basically work with what we have. And versus now, we have a lot of technology. We could add montage, we could change the color, we could change backdrops, we could use green screens to make it look like we're in a certain place when we're not. We could use a lot of those certain things, and that's where I also want to get into like the like where like the bicycle thieves, everything happened. I think that's something very like back then, like that you would see back then, like bicycles, stuff like that. Another topic that I do want to the another topic I do want to to bring up about is about like the daily life of people back then and versus people now. Back then, as we saw in Bicycle Thieves, Antonio uses his bike to get to work. He has to have a bike to get to work and to get back from work. And I think that's very I think that's very like not cool, because I think that now we don't see that. Now we obviously have cars, we have trains, we have other forms of transportation, and I think that it's like a big challenge for Antonio when he gets his bike stolen, because it's like he can't go to work. So if he doesn't go to work, he can't make money, and if he doesn't make money, he's not going to be able to provide for his family, and if he doesn't provide for his family, he won't be able to, like, they won't ever advance in life. They would just have to keep like basically living in poverty because he doesn't have a bike to be able to go to work and make money for his family. Um that shows a lot of realism too. Obviously if you don't obviously bikes are not required now to be able to go to work. You could work from home, you could, do stuff like that, or obviously now we have cars, but it was never a requirement to have a bike to be able to work. And as we see in the film The Bicycle Thieves, it was basically a requirement that was asked from Antonio, that he had to have a bike in order to be able to go to work. Another thing that I want to talk about is the lighting. I want to talk about the lighting like in the film that we saw. We see a lot of this like it's very natural. It's not very like how do you say it, like it's not very like, oh, like a bunch of lights, like how you see in films today. We don't see a bunch of lights, we don't see a bunch in the movie Bicycle Thieves. We didn't see a bunch of lights, we didn't see any of that. We barely saw any. We basically didn't even really see color. We didn't see color. So I think that just adds more realism and more like, not power, but I think it just adds to the fact that this film was filmed years ago, and I think it just like shows how like how cinema has changed through the years, because obviously now we do have color, we have more lights, everything, stuff like that. um Another thing I want to talk about, I feel like the most important thing I want to talk about is the scripted. um because I feel like during the bicycle thieves, I feel like everything was very like not scripted. Obviously back then I don't think film like producers like really thought really hard on this, but I feel like all the moments were really real. They felt real. They felt like you were the person, the characters were really like interfering with the audience. I feel like we were able to see the audience more, like we were able to feel it something when Antonio hit his son. We felt something. We felt like betrayed, because it's like the son was literally on, like literally helping him his whole way here to like to find his bike, and it kind of felt like betrayal. But I think that's everything that I would want to cover. But I think that it's just very cool how it has changed over the years. But yeah.